Today we're going to be looking at how to make your coffee habit more sustainable. Coffee production has always had a problem with overproduction, and any overproduction traditionally has just gone to landfill. More recently, we've got used to buying our coffee in pods like this for our coffee machines. And did you know that the slightest dent in this pod means it typically would have gone to landfill? And this is where Wonky Coffee comes in, because they rescue these slightly damaged pods and sell them to you, the consumer, at a discounted price. Lawrence and Harrison have been friends for years, and while living together in London during the first COVID lockdown of 2020, they decided to explore roasting coffee as an experiment to stave off the boredom of being locked down in their flat. When they started to do their research, they were shocked to find out that tens of thousands of coffee pods every year go to landfill, as they have small dents in the aluminium pod cases. They were donated 30,000 pods from a coffee roaster and decided to sort through these, box them into hundreds, and advertise them on Facebook Marketplace. Through hard work and pedalling around London, delivering these boxes on their push bikes, the Odd Coffee Company was born. More recently, a branding issue has caused a rename to Wonky Coffee, but the business has grown and now offers much more than just Nespresso pods. They now offer Nespresso pods, whole beans and ground coffee. Wonky Coffee is a subscription-based service like many online coffee providers. Although it is possible to make a one-time purchase, it is more expensive to do this than a subscription. It's this decaf dip that I tend to use in the afternoons and the evenings. And during the mornings when I like my caffeine kickstart, what I'll use is their light roasted beans in a coffee machine, which is this bean to cup machine I have here. A perfect coffee pod, like these ones here from Starbucks, would work by taking the coffee pod, and when you pull the lever down, it pokes 3 holes into the back of the coffee pod and a number of holes into the front. And what happens is the water under pressure gets squeezed through the coffee pod, your fresh coffee comes out the bottom here, and that's how a Nespresso machine or equivalent makes a coffee. Now, if you look at our damaged pods, and you can hopefully see that on there, slight dent in the side of this one, a little bit of a dent in the back of this one, maybe some imperfections on the foil at the front. So as you can see, when we look at our used coffee pod, it doesn't really make any difference whether the pod has a dent in it or not. So it's purely cosmetic, in the same way that when you buy vegetables, you either buy perfect vegetables to supermarket standards or wonky ones. Part of the fun of a lucky dip is not knowing what you're going to get. However, you can select the batch number, and you can see from the colour of the pod here, you can then select the description, and you can also bring up the tasting notes and how the coffee is best prepared. For subscribers to the service, pods work out around about 22 pence each, compared to 27.5 pence for Starbucks branded pods, or 25p for the cheapest brand I could find at my supermarket at the time of recording. Wonky Coffee saves around 10% off the supermarket price and saves coffee from going to landfill. For the coffee beans, I found these slightly more expensive than the supermarket alternatives at £15.99 for 1 kilogram versus £14 for Lavazza Rosa coffee beans at my local store at the time of recording this. However, I'm prepared to pay a little bit more as I think it's better coffee, and I know that I'm saving coffee from landfill. Of course, the most sustainable way to make a cup of coffee is either with beans or grounds like these and ditch the pods altogether and use a cafetiere. However, I know many people like the convenience of the pods, and I quite like the fact that a lucky dip is that. I quite know what type of coffee I'm going to get each time, and it's always different, rather than buying a big bag like this and it always tasting exactly the same. Once this bag has been used, it can then go back to your local supermarket where they support this to recycle flexible plastic, and this bag can go in with your store bags for recycling. If you purchase an Nespresso branded pod, and it's aluminium like this one, you can actually take these to a local Collect Plus point in a bag of around about 150 pods, so you've got to save up 150 pods before you can do this, and then they will get taken back to Nespresso where they recycle these. Now, that obviously incurs a delivery CO2 cost of actually taking those pods back to Nespresso and then wherever they take them to then be recycled. So there is an alternative to this, and what I've purchased is this machine here. I say machine, it's just a plastic container, and it's got a top here that goes on top like that. And it's really simple to use. Recycling these pods once they've been used is actually very straightforward to do if you've got this Dualit EcoPress device. So take the pod after it's cooled down, and that's important because you don't want to burn yourself. pop it onto the top of the recycling unit and simply push down. Now, when you finish with that, you'll get a pod, because what it's done is it's pushed out the top of the pod here. It's left a few bits of coffee grounds on, so we just give these a quick rinse. And there we go, we now have one clean piece of aluminium for recycling. And in here, we've got the coffee grounds, which we can now put on our garden or in a compost heap to actually recycle. Just be careful that this is slightly acidic, so don't put it near plants that don't like acid soil. If your local authority supports it, you can just put this in with your normal recycling. Where I live here in Northumberland, they don't. So what I do is we keep any aluminium container that we use, or any aluminium, and we pop them into a bin underneath the sink. And then once every sort of 5 to 6 months or so, I'll take these down to the local recycling depot and actually put this in with the scrap metal, where it will be recycled as aluminium. And you'll see in here, this is around about a month's worth of aluminium recycling that would have just gone to landfill if we hadn't collected this with the intention of taking it down to the recycling centre every 6 months or so. So Wonky Coffee not only saves you money, it tastes delicious, and it reduces your impact on the planet. You can still use your coffee pods, because these are only going to go to landfill if you don't use them. And then providing you then recycle the aluminium pod and compost the grounds, that's minimising your impact on the planet. If you drink a lot of coffee out and about, maybe at a Costa or Starbucks or Cafe Nero or some other brand, then one thing you can do to reduce your impact is to actually get a coffee cup like this collapsible one here. And these can very easily fit in your bag, and very often the brands will give you a discount if you use your own reusable cup rather than one of their disposable ones. If many people make small changes like this, it really can make a huge difference. So please like and subscribe to our videos, and if you'd like to find out what other products we've reviewed that can potentially reduce your impact on the planet, please check out the playlist here.